right, welcome back to another edition of Music Monday from the podcast Nurture the Mind. I am your host, Cole Poots, and we have yet again another music reaction. Sorry, I'm playing with my cat right now. I feel like he should enter the video. I think that would be really cool. They haven't seen you for a while. You haven't really come on camera. Let's show the people that you still exist. This little Miller right here. You little Miller boy. Yeah. You used to come on camera all the time. You don't do it so much anymore. Yeah, guys, we're back with another music reaction. And you know what the fuck it is. It's Sleep Token, because they just dropped a third single for their upcoming album, In Arcadia. And the single is titled, now don't get mad at me if I mispronounce this, is it Damocles? Damocles? Who knows, man? I'm sure we're going to get the correct pronunciation in the song. I'm assuming the words will come up, but yeah, Sleep Token, man, they are preparing for a new album to come out. This is the third single. We had Emergence, which was the first one, which I absolutely loved that song. Then we went to Caramel. Caramel was one that I wasn't keen on when I first listened to it, but then it kind of grew on me over time. So I'm wondering how this song is going to go. Damocles. I have no idea. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. But yeah, I think so far out of the two that I've heard, I think Emergence was my more favorite one. But Caramel is pretty solid, and it's one of those songs that just kind of grows on you over time, the more and more listens that you give to it. So I'm wondering if this song is going to be like, is it going to be a slow burner like Caramel, or is it going to be an instant song like Emergence that just hits you in your fucking feels? I have no idea, but I'm always excited to listen to new music in general, but more specifically, new music from Sleep Token. Sleep Token is slowly becoming one of my more favorite bands that exist out there. So without further ado, we're not going to do any more talking. I just want to get into this song. Who knows, maybe I'm going to have lyrics side by side on Apple Music, but I might have to go back later and, really try and dissect the lyrics, because it's always hard on a first listen. You guys know, I say it all the time, so it's not anything new. But let's check this song out. It's 4 minutes and 25 seconds. So let's see how it goes. Damocles, however you say it. Stand to get corrected.
Oh, I've been waking up under blaze, blue blossom day to form me Damocles.
Damocles. Who's Damocles?
No alabaster carvings or faces on a farthing would prevent my head from fading to black.
Do we have another piano?
And it feels like falling into the sea from outer space in seconds to me.
My cat just took a shit. I can smell it.
Days on repeat until they look like harmony. When the river runs dry and the curtain is cold, how will I know if I can't see the bottom? Come up for air and choke on it all. No one else knows that I've got a problem. What if I can't get up and stand tall? What if the diamond days are all gone? And who will I be when the empire falls? Wake up alone and I'll be forgotten.
Wow, that's beautiful. Ooh, what a transition.
Well, I know I should be touring. I know these chords are boring, but I can't always be killing
And again.
No, no, they
I got the percussion in there. Beautiful.
It feels like falling into the deep from somewhere way up over the peaks. And I play this chord days on repeat until the tape runs out of me. When the river runs dry and the curtain is cold, how will I know if I can't see the bottom? Coming for air and choke on it all. No one else knows that I've got a problem. What if I can't get up and stand tall? What if the diamond rings are all gone and no one will be with me if prayer falls? Wake up alone and I'll be forgotten. Nobody told me I'd be begging for relief when what is silent to you feels like it's screaming to me.
Jesus.
Nobody told me I'd get tired of myself when it all looks like heaven, but it feels like pain. When the river runs dry and the curtain is cold, how will I know if I can't see the bottom? Come up for air and choke on it all. No one else knows that I've got a problem. What if I can't get up and stand tall? What if the diamond rings are all gone and no one will be with me if prayer falls? Wake up alone and I'll be forgotten.
Jesus, what a song, what an outro, man. Feels very emotional. And I don't even fully understand everything that he was talking about in the lyrics. That's where we're gonna have to look up the lyrics. But just that closer right there of an instrumental. All right, man. So, I mean, I guess before we explore, what's up, dude? You trying to play games right now? You trying to play? Before we even explore the lyrics, I mean, I would say like right off of the bat, that is a song that I think draws you in a lot more than say the previous song of Caramel did. I think immediately after first listen, I am much more intrigued by this song. I caught some of the lyrics, and that's why I want to dive a little bit deeper, but it feels like off of first listen that it seems like a very sad and sort of somber song. He talks about people not even knowing like what he's struggling with. What if I can't get up and stand tall? Like there was a few lines in this song that were very telling of a story, but again, I don't fully understand it because there is just so much that is going on in a first listen that you're trying to grab all of it. You're trying to understand the music, but also the lyrics, and that's why, you know, it takes a few times to get through a song and really sort things out in your own head. But my goodness, that was beautiful. You know, another chord progression from a piano, and then it goes into a little bit heavier, but just more percussion, more instruments that they added. And that's the thing that I love about Sleep Token, especially on the instrumental side of things, is it feels like for all of their songs, doesn't matter what it sounds like, doesn't matter what genre it sort of falls into, there's always this really good like chord progression all throughout the song. Like you kind of always know with Sleep Token that there's gonna be a build-up in the songs that they make, and I really appreciate that. I guess the only thing that I would say, if I'm gonna play like devil's advocate to that fact, is I think they might want to be a little bit careful with that song structure, because I don't know if that's something that like people are going to get used to or people are going to get tired of. Ultimately, like they're the band and they're the artists and the musicians, and they get to make those decisions. they could say, we don't really fucking care what you guys think. We're going to make the music that we want to make. And if that's how we like to structure our songs, then that's how we're going to structure them. And I totally understand that. But I'm just saying, that might be something down the road that gets a little bit redundant, because even though you don't know what type of sounds are going to take place, when you're listening to a new Sleep Token song, you kind of know that they're always going off of a similar structure of basically just ascending the sound. They have kind of perfected that, where it feels like when you're listening to Sleep Token, it's like analogous to being on a roller coaster, and you have this gradual build up on the roller coaster where you are climbing to the highest height, and then you hit that climax, and then there's like a drop off as they close out the song. At least to me, that's what it feels like when I'm listening to their music. That was a great instrumental. Again, I caught some of the lyrics. It seems like it is very heavy subject matter of something that Vessel is dealing with. And so that's why we're going to have to pull up the lyrics. Stick to me like Caramel pled Vessel in his previous single, Caramel, where he begged for his fame and his fans to stay. In first glance, it seems like Vessel wanted it to stay with him because he liked it, but perhaps it's not under liking, but of fright. Damocles is the third single released under Sleep Token's 2025 album, Even in Arcadia. The track was firstly teased as soon as Caramel made on air, with its YouTube music video premiere begins with a binary-based coded message that translates to Damocles. In short, the Damocles story is an ancient Greek narration of a nobleman who sits at his throne with a sword always above him, tied only with a single thread representing that ever-lurking fear in a noble position where anything can go south in an instant. If Caramel talked about the threat outward, Damocles is its continuation, focusing on the threat within. His existential dread of losing his spot in the music eye, either by abandonment or disbandment, and even simply when he is out of being Vessel. This is especially concerning as a band that went viral. It is typical that a viral personality will only last for so long before people move on to another phenomenon and thus fall off from their minute grace. And it's not just such fleeting nature. Reiterating Caramel, his eccentric fan base he unintentionally created could also become the scissor cutting the thread of his hanging sword. In fact, there's no need to go far. Even within Sleep Token, his real struggles linger every moment, only to be masked temporarily by his fame and singing. And that time when he masks off is something he is afraid of the most. This track is the exegesis. I don't even know what fucking word that is. That is a made-up word. Behind the story of Caramel, the story of why he wanted all that glitters, knowing the risks he already felt firsthand. Okay, interesting. Well, let's go a little bit deeper into the lyrics. So in verse 1, well, I've been waking up under blades, blue blossom days. If only Damocles would hit me back. No alabaster carvings or faces on a farthing would prevent my head from fading to black. In the myth of Damocles, Damocles himself was a courtier of a king who longed for the experience of living as royalty in all the lavish things therein. Dionysus, his patron god, decided to humor Damocles' request with a twist. Damocles indeed lived as a king with feasts and regal privileges aplenty, but above his head placed an ever-present sword, sharp as a razor and hanging by a single thread. This was meant to represent the constant danger and threats a king deals with after only a day or so. Damocles begged for release as he couldn't sleep or bear the anxiety that the sword gave. And now the sword of Damocles is a metaphor for constant danger and anxiety. Wow. Second part of verse 1, alabaster is a soft stone commonly used for carvings and used for plaster powder. While the carvings depict important figures, political, religious, honored dead, these beautiful carvings are easily worn away or broken. Farthings were the lowest valued coins in obsolete UK currency, withdrawn in 1961. The faces depicted on them may be of important figures, but their value is ultimately nothing in the grand scheme of things. It could be that Vessel is saying that thoughts and prayers, empty well wishes, and hollow compliments aren't enough to help pull him back from the stress of sleep tokens' sudden rise to stardom and the difficulties of being revered while trying to maintain their anonymous nature. In the pre-chorus, and it feels like falling into sea from outer space in seconds to me, and I play discordant days on repeat until they look like harmony. And then we go into the chorus, when the river runs and when the river runs dry and the curtain is called, how will I know if I can't see the bottom? Come up for air and choke on it all. No one else knows that I've got a problem. What if I can't get up and stand tall? What if the diamond days are all gone? And who will I be when the empire falls? Wake up alone and all be forgotten. Verse 2, well, I know I should be touring. I know these chords are boring, but I can't always be killing the game. No golden grand pianos or voices from the shadows will do anything but feel the same. We go through the pre-chorus once again. We go through the chorus once again. You get down to the bridge. And nobody told me I'd be begging for relief when what is silent to you feels like it's screaming to me. Well, nobody told me I get tired of myself when it all looks like heaven, but it feels like hell. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. We've seen Vessel saying about how hard things are going for him and Caramel, and this line is not Vessel, but the man behind the mask, maybe saying that he is tired of being Vessel and all the burdens that he is carrying now. I mean, this is crazy, man. This is fucking crazy. I feel like I've talked about this. I don't know if it was on Caramel or if it was on Emergence, but it's like these guys, they had this sudden rise to fame and notoriety. And although I think that can be an exhilarating experience, especially if you're not ready for it, you know, if it was kind of like not the expectation, maybe it was a mistake, you know, I'm sure there was a part of them is like, well, you know, we do music because we love it and we're glad that, you know, we're able to make a living off of it. But holy shit, like none of this was expected. So it's a little bit exhilarating. It's a little bit exciting, but it also brings just so much pressure under these guys now. And them feeling like, and especially what Vessel is echoing in this song is like, trying to keep up with that image, right? Trying to keep up with that persona because they wanted to remain anonymous, but he still has to play the character of being Vessel. And I think I said in the Caramel reaction, you know, just the fact that like, you could look at these people from the outside looking in and we're probably all thinking like, oh my God, it would be amazing to be in their position, to have this fame, to have this notoriety, all these people screaming your names and all the lyrics to your songs. And yet like, we don't have the perspective of what it's like on the other side and all of the pressure that hangs in the balance. And that pressure can honestly fucking kill a man. I mean, I'm not going through the same situation as Vessel is, but there's a lot of lines in here that actually resonate with me in like my current situation in life, my current circumstances. You know, I'll be honest, like I'll be transparent, like here recently, at least for the last week, like it's been really hard for me mentally. And it's kind of been, you know, some of the same things that I've been thinking about for the last 4 months. So it's weird. These last 4 months, it's literally been 50-50 at times where sometimes I'm doing really good and then sometimes I'm doing really bad. And I think I've given you guys maybe a glimpse as to, what's going on in my life, thinking about changes, thinking about, taking a different job or trying to figure out, what is actually going to be the development of my career. Do I have to go on and do something different than from what I'm doing right now? And then just feeling like I'm behind right now at 28 years old and like trying to pay off my debt and trying to save up money and eventually like down the road like get a house, and just fighting with the battles of like getting older. Like I don't see people anymore. Like I'm not around my friends as much. I mean, shit, dude, it's been like 3 years since I've been in a relationship. And I know probably like saying a lot of these things, it sounds like I'm coming on here and I'm bitching and I'm complaining, but man, I think sometimes in life, everything kind of fucking hits you at once. And even if it isn't a bunch of things that are hitting you at once, it's the way that we perceive it, and it's the way that it feels to us internally. And especially if you don't have people that you can voice these concerns to, these concerns, these doubts, these fears, these anxieties, this pressure, it all builds inside of you and it fucking eats you alive. And I think that that is what Vessel is alluding to, like basically losing sleep. And none of these, shallow compliments, words of recognition that he's getting from other people, it doesn't suffice whatsoever. If anything, it probably makes the whole situation worse. And so, what is your outlet? Who do you go to as an outlet? I think thankfully for Sleep Token and Vessel and all of these guys, at least they have music, and that's some form of an outlet. Like I lost my therapist that I've been working with for 5 years, and that was I found out back in December, but she had passed away a few months before that, and I just didn't know about it. Obviously because I was trying to reach out to her and I wasn't getting a response. So then it became crystal clear when I figured out. And ever since that point in time, man, just all the shifts that have been going on in my life, it has been hard to like find people to talk to and get all of these things outside of my head. And that's just sometimes things get stuck in the brain. Earlier on in this song, talking about, how in an instant, like things can go south. This might be too much information, but if we're being transparent right now, today is Sunday and it is the 27th of April. And literally earlier this week on Monday, I basically witnessed somebody pass away. It was a member at our gym, and she was also a client for personal training. She wasn't my client, but she was my coworker's client. And she was almost 86, and she basically just died of old age. And so for the last few weeks or so, all of us staff members were going over to where she was at, the old people home that she was at, and just spending time with her and reminiscing and trying to cheer her up as her body was just shutting down. And then today I live in Iowa, as you guys know, more specifically in Indianola, which is kind of close to Des Moines, a little bit more like southern Iowa. And me and my family, my immediate family, my mom, my dad, and my brother, we went up to Waterloo, which is 2 hours away, and that's where a pair of my grandparents live. And we visited them, and the whole point of going up there was to see my grandma because she was diagnosed with aggressive, I think, stage 4 liver cancer. And it was heartbreaking because we get in there and she's still getting ready and whatnot. Like my grandpa lets us in, and she's upstairs in her bathroom. And she comes down the stairs and she's just so incredibly weak. And she's become really, really skinny. And the moment that she gets down to the living room, down from the stairs, she hugs all of us. And she just starts crying. And it was just so hard to witness because this whole cancer thing, they just discovered it not long ago. These last few months she's been having issues, and it just kind of sprouted up, which who knows, maybe it was progressing way before that, and then they just never caught it, anytime that she went to the doctors and whatnot. And so these last few weeks I've been around death. I've been looking at death in the face with our old client, Mary. And now I'm looking at death staring in the face of my grandma, who in the summertime would turn 72, which I would consider to still be quite young. I don't think you should go in your early 70s. And it's not like my grandma, she's not overweight or anything like that. She never was. I would say she's relatively healthy. I think a lot of it is just, it's in her genes, it's in her genetics. And so unfortunately, stage 4 liver cancer is really hard to come back from. And the doctors are saying that they probably give her, she's going to start chemo, I think, and radiation or whatever, on Monday, so tomorrow. And that should, potentially extend her life for another 3 or 6 months. And so I bring that up. It's not for sympathy. It's not for empathy from the people that are watching this video, but to some of the things that Vessel addresses in this song, it's a different position that he's holding, with him and the band and where they're at and all these people consuming their music, but telling this story of Damocles and having the sword right above the head. And it's just like this constant reminder that everything can fall apart in an instant. And, life is equally beautiful, and there's a lot of positives to note, but it's also tragic, and it's also complemented with death and decay, but then there's rebirth. And I don't know, these last 4 months have been weird for me, man. Just with the changes and the transitions, and I say that more so like just in my thought process, and like what I'm thinking about now at 28 is not anything that I ever would have thought of even just 3 years ago at 25. I think 25, 26, and 27, still young and naive. I mean, definitely like mature and wise, but I wasn't really thinking so much or far down the road about my future. And I feel like at 28, it's just now all of the sudden I feel this increased sense of pressure to like get things going and to figure things out. And, I know that like death is an unavoidable thing, but now like these last few weeks, I'm seeing it up close and personal, and it just really kind of like fucks with your headspace, at least with Mary, who's going to turn 86 in May. It makes a little bit more sense because she's a little bit older, like naturally your body's just going to decay at some point and shut down. But for like my grandma, who's 71 and would turn 72 in June, it's like she is the most undeserving person to get stage 4 liver cancer and go through this. And it's just absolutely heartbreaking. And I've never in my life could I ever recall ever seeing a moment where my grandpa was crying. And there were just so many times today where, he just started crying. You could see the tears that were forming in his eyes. And it just makes you think a lot. It just makes you think a lot about the future, because now I'm at a point at my age, I'm going to start seeing more and more of my grandparents. I'm lucky enough to have 3 sets of grandparents. I'm going to start seeing them, all of them, go through this similar process and like start passing away. And it's scary because then you start to contemplate and think, and you're like, oh my God, like my parents, they are the next ones to go. And I don't know, I just feel like I have yet to really get my life kick-started, haven't found myself a wife, haven't started, having kids. And it just increases that sense of pressure, because knowing that like my parents are going to be in a position like that one day, it's like, I want to have kids and I want to give my parents some grandkids, and I want to make sure that I have grandkids and they have enough time on this earth to like hang out and be around their grandkids. And so, man, it's just 28 years old has been a weird, like, fucking mental conundrum. And I don't want to sound like just like super depressed and like sad and whatnot, but holy shit, like it's hard to navigate. And I hope things just start to clear up. But this song, I mean, it really just makes you think about all these different components of life, and the story of Damocles, whatever the fuck, I keep saying it wrong. It's just, everything can change in an instant. All of us, we're not that far away. We're all like, this sounds morbid and like fucked up, but it's a good and like healthy reminder, but we're all like 5 steps away from death. And it's a good idea to consider and think about your own mortality, just so you can really have an appreciation and a gratitude for life. Because seeing my grandma like go through this stuff just makes you think, man, like all those years where she was healthy and able, like take those things for granted. I took those things for granted with my grandma. Like, just, you always thought that your elders, obviously being your superiors when you were a kid, you're like, oh, they're never gonna get old, they're never going to grow old and die. They're always going to be healthy. They, in a kid's eyes, your parents, grandparents, stuff like that, like they are, literal like superheroes to you. And so, yeah, man, I mean, I was already kind of in that headspace, but like listening to this song, surprised that I didn't cry during it. But Vessel has his own set of struggles, and it's not really anything that I can relate to, but the way that he speaks about his struggles and what he's previously or recently like gone through. I don't know when they wrote this music, it could have been last year, it could have been right after they came out with their last album, but I would be willing to guess that it's probably a little bit more recent of times. And it's not the same struggles that I'm going through, but just the way that he worded such things inside of the lyrics, it really makes you contemplate and think. So sorry to make this such a somber, sort of sad reaction, but that's just where my headspace has been at, and it's been tough this last week. And I don't know if that's just because of like being around these things or whatever, because I'm still thinking about my own personal shit, my own personal struggles. But definitely seeing one person pass away and another one fighting for their life has not been great for me to witness. But it is a reality. An inevitable part of life is death, and so we can't run away from it. But guys, that's the reaction. As always, there's 4 things that I ask that you do if you came over here. Number 1 would be subscribe to the channel. Number 2 would be like the video. Number 3 would be comment in the comment section below. And number 4 would be to share this content, whether it's on social media or if it's in person, if you're talking to somebody. Basically do one of those 4 things if you came over here and you enjoyed this, if you thought it was valuable, if you thought I had a good take, if you thought it was good content, if you didn't think it was a waste of time, just do me a solid and help me grow this channel and my brand and my message, because I try to do everything that I can by pouring into these reactions, and that's all that I ask for in return. So thank you guys for coming over here and hanging out. Sleep Token, man, coming out with a new album on May 9th. I mean, we are almost there, so we can dissect the whole album in its entirety. Thank you guys, and I will see you soon on the next reaction. Take care. Bye-bye.